Good morning. So today is the first day of my last rotation of clerkship, and that is psychiatry. Honestly, it's been pretty crazy and scary to think about how fast the year went by. It really feels like yesterday I was telling all of you about the start of my first rotation of clerkship, which was internal medicine. So this morning we're starting off with orientation lecture, and then we're gonna head to our hospital sites after for site orientation. I'm also on call this evening, so follow me and we'll see how the entire day goes. Bye! So I headed down to the lecture hall and got ready for our orientation lecture, as well as the other introductory lectures we will be having that morning.
Doing the identification is actually a pretty good way to reflect yourself and start observing, keeping your wits about you, start observing the patient. The final bit is that for most patients, the identification stuff and demographic.
So we finished our orientation for the morning, and right now I'm at the library. Technically this is a silent zone, so I'm just talking really quietly because I'm gonna go and pick up a psychiatry book for studying. Alright, let's go get it. So one of the textbooks recommended by one of the psychiatrists giving us a lecture was Kaplan and Sadok's clinical psychiatry book, so I picked up a copy from the library and checked it out. Then it was time to head over to our hospital sites that we were assigned for our site orientation, so I took the public transit and started heading towards the hospital. Then it was time for orientation, and so I started walking down this hallway to head towards the psychiatry wards and also figure out exactly where I was meeting our preceptor and our other classmates. Hey guys, so we're back here in this very familiar looking student lounge because I have a call shift from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. I know, I feel like I always have a call shift early into the rotation, and I'm doing the first call shift on the first day of our rotation for psychiatry. So far, it's been pretty quiet. Had some dinner, met up with the resident on call tonight. So we'll stay tuned and see if anything comes our way. Bye! So psychiatry went by pretty quickly, and before I knew it, it was another week of lectures. So we do have in-person lectures for the first 2 weeks of the 6-week rotation, and then afterwards, we only have resident lectures on certain days of the rotation. And then before I knew it, another call shift rolled around, so I made myself a nice decaf coffee from this coffee machine that was donated by one of our classmates very generously, and it's also an espresso machine, so that's pretty high-end. I also had a classmate and friend doing internal medicine at the same hospital, so we had a lot of call shifts together, and that made the call shift so much more fun. I also found that during psychiatry, I had more time to go do some short trips to other places. For example, I was able to visit nearby cities in Alberta and spend some time there with family and friends. And in one of these cities, they had a super cheap buffet for $20, all-you-can-eat Asian buffet, and it was actually quite delicious. It came with a free drink and also amazing entertainment. In my hometown, I also visited the local exhibition fair called Klondike Days, or Katie's for short, and I like to go there to try some new foods, such as this matza corn dog that I got from the fair. Overall, the exhibition in the Midway vibes are always a ton of fun and looks amazing at nighttime when all the lights come on and it's super busy with a bunch of people from the city checking out the exhibition fair. And as you know, time sure flies on these rotations, and before I knew it, I was on my last ever call shift of third-year clerkship. Hey guys! So can you believe it? This is actually my last call shift of third year of clerkship. That's pretty crazy. And what's even cool is that my first ever call shift for internal medicine, which is the rotation I started with at the beginning of clerkship, is at the same hospital that I'm finishing my last call shift for psychiatry at the end of third year. So everything has come full circle. Anyways, I was actually really happy with how this call shift went because first of all, it's on the weekend, which means it's a longer call shift. I started at 8 a.m. and I finish at 10 p.m. And usually I get to see maybe 1 or 2 patients if I'm lucky on a weekday evening call shift. So having a weekend full day and evening call shift allowed me to see 3 separate patients as well as do some ward duties. And for me, that's a huge win because I got to do a ton of learning. And also, shout out to my resident for being so awesome and filling out a ton of evaluation forms for me, because I think that I was maybe halfway through of the total number of evaluations I needed by the end of this rotation. And my resident was the true MVP, literally said, send me whatever you need. Every time you see a patient, send me an evaluation form and I will fill it out. So I got basically all my evaluation forms done. So that was super exciting. Today was pretty busy because, as I said, I was seeing a lot of consults and doing a lot of ward duties. And all my consults was focused on the theme of substance use disorder. So there's a lot of typing, a lot of collateral, meaning I had to call family members or friends who can talk about the patients a bit more, and just getting on those phone calls. And I'm pretty sure on my laptop here, I was pounding away at the keys. So I actually have 2 weeks left in psychiatry. And even though this is my last call shift ever, I'll still be busy seeing patients on the ward as I normally do during the day, writing progress notes, and participating in groups and helping run groups. But this is Lulu MD signing out on her last ever call shift of 3rd year medical school. Bye! I also got to do a few more fun things during psychiatry, like meeting up with one of my best friends in medical school for some ramen. I also got to try out some VR with my family and friends. That was a ton of fun. And I went to the local Space Science Center to check out their new releases in their 360-degree 8K planetarium dome show theater. But as you all know, all fun things must come to an end, and the end of a rotation means exams and studying. Hey guys! So I just finished my last ever multiple choice exam of 3rd year, and I am super stoked because I only have 1 more exam left before I'm done 3rd year forever. No, I'm just kidding, it wasn't that bad. And my exam tomorrow is my OSCE for psychiatry, so I've been working on that for the last little while here in the study room, because part of our psychiatry exam is to present a patient that we saw on the psychiatric ward during our time there, and essentially memorize every single detail that exists in the known universe about this patient and present it to the examiner as if we're presenting it to the resident or the psychiatrist on call. The key difference being that we're not allowed any notes. That's why I have to memorize all the details. But besides that, it's just crazy to think about that. Like yesterday, I was starting 1st year medical school, then on to 2nd year, and then like, wow, we're already into 3rd year. We're doing clerkship rotations. I'm learning lots on the ropes, being on clinic, being in the hospitals. And then now I'm in the last rotation, the last few days of 3rd year, and 4th year, or the last year medical school, is just looming around the corner. So that's pretty mind-blowing to think that all this time has gone by so quickly. But they do say that time flies when you're having fun. Anyways, so basically what's going on now is, after I'm done studying here, the plan is to head over to a different building because we have this workshop going on for our CaRMS CV. So CaRMS, if you haven't had a chance to search it up, you should do that if you're interested in doing medical school and then kind of understanding how residency works after medical school. But basically in last year medical school, you start working on these applications to figure out where you want to go do your residency in the specialty you want to do. So part of this process is to have a CV ready. And so there's a workshop going on that will help us polish up the CVs that I've been working on, and also get some last minute tips and tricks for CaRMS application. So I'll let you know how that goes. We'll see what it looks like, and then we'll catch up with all of you later on my final thoughts for psychiatry. Bye! Okay, so the CaRMS CV workshop went really well, and I actually have an idea what to do with my CV, and it actually looks nice when I submit it for CaRMS. So now it's time to put away a library book and head home, get ready for my OSCE exam tomorrow. Bye! So I promise you all, I did use this textbook. I just ended up using the digital copy more than the actual physical copy. That's it, my OSCE is done, and I got a strawberry milk as a treat from my preceptor, which was super kind of her. And that's it. That's the end of 3rd year, and in 1 week I'll be in 4th year of medical school. Bye! Hey, good morning. So I'm here at the airport because I have a flight to catch, and yesterday was my last day of my psychiatry rotation, and normally I like to talk about how things went at the end of the rotation on the last day, but just because I had to start packing right away since I did like 0 packing before coming to the airport today, I didn't have a chance to talk about how the rotation went. So I'm using the downtime before my flight arrives to do that. So psychiatry was my last rotation of 3rd year, and after surgery and obstetrics and gynecology, it really felt like a psych-cation. That's kind of the joke that's amongst medical students, that psychiatry is basically a vacation. And it was nice to start later in the day and then also finish earlier in the day so I could have more time to do other things in my life. I will say that psychiatry had a lot of documentation required, so a lot of note writing, a lot of phone calls, a lot of talking to social workers, talking to other allied health professionals, and then you write everything that you talk about, whether it's with the patient, whether it's with their collateral. So the collateral in psychiatry is basically calling a family, friend, or someone else who knows the patient well. And you compare kind of those 2 stories from the patient themselves as well as the collateral to see how the patient is faring before the hospital stay, during the hospital stay, and potentially after the hospital stay. But anyways, a lot of typing, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of discussion with other allied health professionals. So even in internal medicine, I wasn't writing as many notes, maybe in the consults, but psychiatry consults take hours to do, and that's okay because I learned a lot. But it definitely was probably the longest part for my learning during the rotation. Other than that, psychiatry was a lot of fun. I met so many cool people while I was there on the unit, and my preceptor was very encouraging, very lovely, was very helpful in helping me learn a lot of things, and in general, I had a very safe learning space during my rotation. So as I mentioned, this is my last rotation of 3rd year. I have 1 week off between 3rd year and 4th year, so that's why I'm at the airport, gonna catch a bit of vacation time. I'll be traveling, and if you don't know, I do run a travel vlog called Travel with Lulu on YouTube as well. So if you're interested in learning more about what are the things I do during my traveling as a medical student, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching all my videos in 3rd year, and we'll see you for the beginning of 4th year, where I'll be starting off with a traveling elective in Ottawa. Bye! So stay tuned for my first episode of Clerkship Tales during my 4th and final year of medical school.